Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at the Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land.
Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am Debbie Heiser, and I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money and make a huge impact in the world, all without sacrificing what's important to them. And what's really cool, I think, about this podcast myself is that we talk about how we can live intentionally, how we can set goals, we can take inspired action, and lead the life that we truly desire, one that's lit up. And I'm really excited to dive into today's episode, the last one of 2024, because we're going to talk about setting juicy goals, because we started out the month talking about what's your word, looking for what's the word that we want, kind of a theme for the year, then talking about how to reflect on the year, keeping your vibration high. And now I want to talk about setting goals. And I've just recently, over this last year, had my mind kind of blown about goals, because in the past, I've had people talk to me about goals where it feels like it's the same thing year after year. I joke that, if I have on my list one more time, I want to lose 40 pounds, that it's not exciting to me. And if you have something that you want to stop, or you have something that you want to lose, that is not really a goal. That's a task. And so when we talk about juicy goals, these are goals that don't just they're not just on a checklist, but it feels really vibrant and alive, and it pulls us toward our dream. You've heard me before talk about this push and the pull. And when we're pushed, that's force. And when we're pulled, that's power. And I don't mean power over, but powerful in our creation of our life. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a different method, because I know I'm pretty tired of hearing about SMART goals. I have known those for decades. We've used them in corporate America forever. I'm going to talk a little bit more about a method I heard about called the CLEAR method. And it's really a powerful way to align your goals, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, with your life's purpose. So you might be asking too, what's a life purpose? And that's part of what I do. So it's in your spiritual DNA, and figuring out what your role is in this universe is so important for you to feel lit up. So if you're questioning what that role is, please reach out to me, as I love actually helping people realize their divine purpose, because that's the cornerstone to everything that we do and who we are as humans. So again, feel free to reach out to me on that. But let's dig in. And I've just come up with this word, juicy goals, right? And some people might go, oh, gross, juicy. But I love this because it's really descriptive, because a juicy goal, like I said earlier, is one that inspires you. It energizes you. It's the one that gets you out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed and go do the thing. It helps you do the inspired action. So it feels really aligned with who you are. And so it creates this inspiration where we can't help but move toward the goal. So they're not the I should do this goals, the ones that we create out of obligation or because they sound good. Juicy goals, really, it is again about something that makes us feel excited, the sense of adventure and possibility. My experience with goals are this to-do list. I mentioned that earlier, the task, the losing or stopping something. And so I want to shift this and give it a 180. And Webster's definition, and I got this actually out of The Energy of Money, which is a really great book that I use with my clients. And she talks about in there looking up Webster's definition of a goal. And Webster's definition of a goal is an area or object toward which play is directed in order to score. So think about that. Play. So I've talked before about the importance of play and having our childlike hearts out. And so it's really important to think about as you go forward setting goals, making them exciting, making them something that feels like play. It doesn't feel like work. If you feel relieved, a sense of relief after accomplishing a goal, that's a task. So think about that and chew on that for a little bit. So, I also know that we all have responsibilities, but there's really a difference between having a goal that we've been taught that's a task that drains our energy and one that really sets us up to truly feel alive, to feel lit up. So, I want to give you this clear methodology. And before I jump into clear, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Let's talk about something every entrepreneur faces: selling. It's one of the biggest topics I hear from my community and clients. How can I sell without feeling the ick? I get it. And that's exactly why I created an ebook that guides you through the same script I use to grow my business year after year by leading sales conversations with heart and soul. If you want a selling approach that feels right, head over to thelituplife.com/ebook and grab your copy today. Now, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, so as entrepreneurs, we want to look at our goals, these juicy goals, as something that motivates us, inspires us, gets us to do the thing, create the habits, excuse me, even when we don't want to. And so this clear method gives us a little bit of structure, but I also don't want you to get too tied up in the structure and feel like it has to fit in one of these exact things. Just write the goal and then go back and make it clear. And that's what I love about it, making it clear. So let me tell you what each letter stands for, and then also giving you some information about that. And I'll give you some examples too, so that you can apply this to your own life. So the C stands for creative. And when you think about creativity, it's essential to play. It's essential to our goal setting. And I'm not just talking about the artistic creativity here. I mean, I wish sometimes I could paint what I see and actually have it look like what I see. I'm thinking, I'm this creativity, excuse me, I'm kind of bouncing all over my words here. The creativity is really about thinking outside the box when it comes to your life. And your goals shouldn't be confined to the same tired structures that we've used in the past. So ask yourself, how can I reimagine what's possible? Maybe even asking the question, what is possible? And how can you think differently about the things that you want? The world is changing at a very rapid pace. We're surfing the edge of chaos. And so this creativity is so important. But if we're not playing, that creativity has a harder time coming out. Creativity breathes life into our goals and makes them more engaging. And like I said before, it inspires us. Now, I'm going to say that inspiring word, motivating word over and over again, because that to me it feels like the biggest piece of the difference, not only with play, but this idea that I'm much more inspired. It's not something that after the January, February rush of us figuring out what we want our year to look like, it goes away. These goals can also be longer term and shorter term. It could be 40 years out, it could be 1 year out, it could be 1 month. So get creative. The L stands for large. And here's the thing about these goals: they need to be big enough to stretch you, but not overwhelm you. Now, when you get to that point of overwhelm, you have to ask yourself, am I really overwhelmed or am I just a little bit nervous? And remembering that fear and excitement feel the same way in our body. So if we feel the overwhelm, don't just automatically go into overwhelm. Just pause for a moment, because what we want is something expansive. So again, there's a difference between being expansive and being overwhelming. Large goals will challenge you to grow, but they should also feel exciting. So think of your goal as something that will require you to rise to the occasion, that will demand more of you, but in a way that feels achievable if you take it one step at a time. And keep in mind, we don't have to know the how yet. Once we make clear, and as my friend always says, once I take order from the waitress, the universe provides the how. So keeping us open to the how. So then the E stands for emotion. And one of the biggest reasons that I see people, myself included, lose gumption with their goals is that we don't tie it to an emotion. How do I want to feel? Right? Who do I want to be? So this emotional connection when things get tough, it keeps us going. And so when you look at this goal, how do you want it to feel once you've achieved it? How does the goal make you feel? And looking at those emotions because it fuels your drive, it keeps you connected to the deeper reason, which then we'll talk about here in a little bit with the why, but and it helps you with that deeper reason or why that you set the goal in the first place, which is the last letter. Then the A stands for analytics. You know, it is important to be practical. And I'm going to share something I learned from one of my mastermind sisters who I think learned it from a coach. If you've ever watched Harry Potter or heard of Harry Potter, they talk about the wizarding world and the muggle world. And so the analytics is the muggle world, right? We believe in universal law. We believe in the law of attraction. We know that things will, come to us that are here and it's all here now. And the analytics help us to measure. So it's more about having some ways to measure progress, not perfection. Sometimes it's just, did I do it or not? But other times it's about looking at how I can measure the progress of that. Is the outcome of, well, I'm going to share with you a goal that I have is to, and I think I shared this before, is to get this lifetime pass that Schweitzer gives away when I turn 80. Now, that's a few decades away, but that has already started to change things in my mind that will allow me to think differently now because I know I need to do things now that will allow me in 20 plus years to have that pass and not just to have it in my pocket, but be able to take some runs. So the analytics are some of those measurable markers that will help me track my progress. The outcome of some of the inspired actions that I will be doing to get that pass will probably be I will lose some gravitational pull to the earth, which is just simply weight. I will, chances are, lose some inches because I'll become more active. I will have healthier knees because I have a friend that does some knee stuff that I'm going to reach out to about how I can protect my knees. So there's things that we're going to do that you can track your progress. And in that case, that goal is 20 plus years out. I can set a goal for this year or for this month that I know is getting me closer to that pass. Now, some people say 20 years out for them is too far out. So even if it's a month, maybe you have a trip coming up, and some people would say, oh, don't put a trip there. But I say to people, how do you want to look and feel when you go on that trip? So think about how you want to look and feel, and that's the goal. And then what are the inspired actions that go along with that? Because when you have that goal, and it's tied to emotion, and you have some ways to track the progress, then what happens is you're more inspired, you're motivated to do those actions every day. I know you've heard that a gazillion times so far. So when you think about this, set measurable goals too. I've seen people do this where they're really not reasonable. I was having a conversation with my friend this weekend about how doing some different actions have led me to see some pounds start to come off my body, and how this diet culture has been so ingrained in my head that the neural pathways are deep. And so I've been creating new neural pathways, but sometimes if I step on the scale, and it doesn't show this immediate, very fast progress. And, if I'm losing 1 pound a week or less, that's going to take me a few weeks to get where I want to go. If I want to lose 40 pounds and I don't want to lose it because I don't want to gain it back, but if a task is partly that I want to get rid of 40 pounds, then ultimately that's not going to happen overnight. That might take a full year. Right? So be reasonable when it comes to these actionable steps and how you're going to measure what's there. So be in the muggle world and be practical when you're talking about the analytics. Now, the R is for reason. That's your why. Like, what is the why behind the goal that you're setting? What's the underlying reason? If it's to create more freedom in your life, in this case for the past, it's about longevity for me, and not just longevity, meaning that I'm going to live a lot of years, but longevity with a sound mind and a sound body that can still be active and can still go do things. So this helps anchor your goal because it becomes more meaningful and helps us push through the challenges. So again, don't get caught up in, is this an emotion or is this why, but try to make sure that the goal checks off these 5 areas. Now, the last thing I want to really touch on here is the difference between juicy goals and vision, because they sometimes get tangled up. So your vision is a much bigger picture that you want your life to be like. It's your dream. For instance, my vision is to have a company where our coaching is sought after because our clients, our listeners are so deeply impacted and they have amazing results to show for it. Another vision for my life is the one around longevity with my sound mind and body. So my goal then is the free pass, right? So and that free pass hits my financial avenue because I want to be able to then have financial means where I don't get concerned about buying my son a pass, because they're about $1,000 a piece now and they're only going to increase, and buy my son a pass and my 2 grandsons a pass so that we can ski together. It also hits into my physical that we talked about earlier, my emotional and spiritual health. So it hits a lot of these different areas. Doesn't mean every goal you have is going to hit all of those areas. I'm just sharing with you, that's what makes it so juicy. So the vision is really the bigger picture of who we want to be and what we want to then like see in our lives. And it's not just businesses and finances, right? To lead that lit up life, we have to look at multiple areas in our life. So think of the vision really as your North Star that's guiding you, even if you don't always know how to get there. The goals then are these mini visions that inspire you to take specific actions to accomplish. So the key is to really align your actions with your goals and your goals with your vision. Now, some of you that have listened for a while, this resembles kind of the brain science piece where we have habits. And if we want to change a habit, we have to look at the actions that we're taking, and the actions are created because of a belief that we have. And so if we want to change a habit, we have to unwind and figure out what the belief is. So make sure that you align your actions with your goals and your goals with your vision. If your goals don't align, you feel really out of sync and it's a rub. Similar to the story I told you before about how all of a sudden I wanted to build this great big business and sell it. And then I realized that was not in alignment with me leading my own lit up life. And so, I pulled away from that. So this month, we started with our word, reflected back on 2024 to help you gain clarity on what your vision and your goals are. So as you reflect, please keep that vibration high. Focus on what excites you and uplifts you rather than being critical of yourself. Let that, critical parent kind of sit down, and we don't need to beat ourselves up and lower our energy. So I hope you take what you've learned here today about clear, about the difference between juicy goals and tasks. And as you look ahead into 2025, use this clear method to ensure that you have creative stretch goals that are tied to your emotions, that are measurable for you and rooted in your deeper why. And so I hope as you approach 2025, you approach it with compassion and align your new goals with your life's vision. That's how you lead your lit up life, with intention, passion, and purpose. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I can't wait to hear about some of your juicy goals for this new year. So reach out to me, head out to our social and share with us your wins and what those goals are. And let's make 2025 the year you truly live in alignment with your vision. Until next time, have a great New Year's Eve. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.